Welcome back, everyone, to the Only Women Entrepreneurs podcast, also known as, I'm your host, Rosemary Cescolini, where in a previous life, I was, believe it or not, a high school English teacher who left my educational career to turn my life completely around to become a successful entrepreneur in a completely foreign industry with no skill or experience. I committed myself to manufacturing custom handmade wood doors for thousands of people across North America in our family-run business called Royal Door Limited. For over 30 years, I had an amazing career in this industry where doors have found their way into the homes of celebrities and famous athletes, featured on Netflix shows, HGTV, and on the covers of renowned construction and renovation magazines. I have had the honor and privilege in working with some of the most talented individuals in the design and architectural worlds. On the verge of closing this chapter in my life, I realized that I had too much information and experience to impart on the world that I needed to share. So I decided to start an initiative whose sole focus is to support and aid aspiring young women with the tools and resources to achieve success in alternative careers and entrepreneurship. In this podcast, you'll learn about the paths and insights of influential women who have dominated their respective fields and broken all barriers along the way. Today, I am incredibly excited to have someone who I met more than a decade ago while she was a junior designer for one of our clients, Timothy Johnson at TJ Design. She had the look of a future star written all over her face, and my prediction came through. I admire her as a business leader, role model, mentor, and a TV star. Our very special guest today is Debra Salmoni, owner and principal designer of Debra Lillian Design, or DLD for short, and co-host of Scott's Vacation House Rules with HGTV star Scott McGilvery at Scott_McGilvery. Hello, Debra, and thank you so much for taking the time from your hectic schedule to be with us today.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm always interested in supporting other women and entrepreneurs. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right?
Absolutely. And that's why we're here. We're having that discussion. Thank you again. So let's start by giving the O community a synopsis of who Debra Salmoni is, like your upbringing, your education, and your employment history.
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm the youngest of four, Italian family in Brampton, and I've always wanted to be an interior designer. So growing up, somebody would be like, what do you want to be when you get older? And it would be like, I want to be like, rock stars and movie stars. And like, yeah, like I want to be their designer. So it's always been in me. And growing up, I never thought that was a practical career choice, because in Brampton, people didn't have interior designers. So I went to school for marketing and business because I knew whatever I wanted to do, I needed to learn how to run a business, learn how to market myself, all of these really important skills that you have to teach. And so I decided to also do college instead of university because I'm definitely a more hands-on, can't sit through lectures. I get bored, I get antsy, had to get up, So I went to Seneca College, did a 3-year program for my marketing and e-business diploma. And then I started on that journey, kind of putting interior design on the back burner. Right. Then I moved to Toronto, went to a swanky party, had a conversation with Tim Johnson. He's a designer looking for a junior. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my chance. So through all caution to the wind, he hired me and I worked with Tim for 10 years. Yeah. I did programs throughout my career, learning AutoCAD and learning more interior design. I did a couple courses at Ryerson. I did some at Humber, but ultimately just threw myself right into the industry, and I'm a very quick learner, very quick. I like constructive criticism. So I like when somebody tells me, you're doing it, you could do it better like this. Don't do it like this, do it like this. Don't do it like this, don't do it like this. I'm not defensive, I'm not confrontational. I take that constructive criticism and I find it makes me better at what I do. So I'm always open to somebody giving me suggestions or some feedback.
That's phenomenal. Actually, just rewinding back to your intro there. So we have two things in common: Italian heritage
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always have.
And I was born and raised in Toronto, and then my dad had this brilliant idea of moving to Brampton when I was 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he started my entrepreneurial drive where he had purchased some land with my uncle, and they ended up doing a subdivision there. It was 33 acres, and they divided into 11 lots, and it became estate lots. And if you know the area, Gore Road, Highway 7 between Countryside and Castlemore.
Yeah.
There was a huge subdivision there that my dad actually pioneered. I have in my office a beautiful map that shows the subdivision with the original drawings. And so that's my keepsake of my father. He's no longer with us, but it gave me that inspiration, right?
Absolutely.
But I didn't really think that I would be going into construction, because one of the things that kind of like prohibited me, and probably you are a younger version, was the stereotypes, because it was male dominated. My dad was in construction early on when he came to Canada, and there weren't a lot of women on the scene. So hence I got pushed into the teaching career. And that was short-lived, but I'm glad that I was able to have a career change. And I'm, like I said, I was so excited to do something and create and see things come to vision, right? When you're dealing with ideas in your head or on your computer, and then all of a sudden you bring it into a real live aspect, so you see that every day. And then that's
it's very rewarding.
Absolutely.
Very rewarding. It's why I do what I do. I have all these ideas in my head, and I need an outlet. And so interior design has become an outlet for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in a family of builders and construction.
Yeah.
So it's always been,
Busy.
It's always been busy, but it's in my blood.
Yeah.
We talking about projects, what my grandfather was building. He came over from Italy with the typical one shoe and built a very successful construction company. And so, with divisions and all of these, these accomplishments. And so that I think it's definitely in our blood. It has to be in your blood.
It's pulsing through, and actually it's transformed to the next generation.
But it's definitely it's a challenging industry. I find, immediately when you walk on a job site, especially with a contractor you don't know. Like, I have my contractors who's known me for 14 years, and they know, we have this amazing camaraderie. We understand each other needs, but often I'm meeting new contractors all the time, and you always feel like you have to prove yourself, right? Like, I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for 14 years. And often some contractors don't even pay attention to what I'm saying. And then, you're like, here's my entire drawing package. This is everything we've done. This is how the project should go. All of your questions should be here. And then they don't even look at it. They don't, because they have this little bit of this chip on the shoulder, right? Like, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. I don't need a girl to tell me how to do this. And so I deal with that every day. So I find swearing on the job site really helps.
So sewer mouth or potty mouth, that helps.
Immediately
it gets their attention though.
Immediately it sets the tone. It's been my thing. I'm like, what the is going on here? And then they're like, what? I don't wear name brand things on job sites. That's for sure. I try to go as casual as, I don't want to show up in my Prada shoes with a fancy handbag. I definitely try to come across as relatable as possible.
Yeah. That's important.
It's just, I find then you've earned a little bit more respect. Unfortunately.
For sure. Well, I want to touch on this point, but I wanted to go back on your earlier point about you worked with Tim Johnson for 10 years.
Adore Tim.
He's wonderful. I saw him recently, and I told him that I was doing the podcast, and he goes, "Oh, let me know when Debra's on, because I want to follow, subscribe, and I gotta."
Oh, I talk to Tim daily.
Yeah, he told me that he's getting
like
together.
2 days.
Okay, you can tell him that we did the recording finally.
I will.
But he is an amazing person to work for. So, what was the nudge to leave Tim and his wonderful establishment and set up your own shop?
Yeah. So I mean, even to this day, when I see Tim, I'm like, Tim, my retirement plan is to close down DLD and come work for you again. And we could touch on why running a business is hard, but
We will.
yeah, ultimately, Tim was like, Tim took me under his wing and he taught me everything I knew and everything I know about interior design.
Right.
He was the best boss possible. And, you know, as my opportunity to get on TV came at a whirlwind, like it just all of a sudden happened. And if anybody knows anything about TV, you have zero control of your schedule. Zero. Like they tell you your shoot days, you sign a contract and your shoot days change, life changes. You don't have the flexibility anymore. When they say jump, I have to say how high, basically on my shoot days. And it started to get challenging because I wasn't able to run my jobs like I was. Because if it was like, okay, Deb, the countertops are being templated on Tuesday. And then I got a phone call saying, hey, Deb, Tuesday you're shooting. I wasn't able to manage the project anymore like I was. And Tim always had the, as long as you can do your job 100%, I don't care what happens in the background. And I started to realize that I couldn't run my projects at 100% without being like, hey, Tim, can you go on Tuesday's countertop and, you know, the doors are being installed. Can you go and manage the doors because I'm needed on site now? And I started to realize that that was my future with Tim. And so I said, before it becomes one of these conversations where you're like, Deb, you know, I love that you're chasing your dreams and I love that you're doing this new opportunity, but my business is being compromised. I decided to leave before any of that was happening. And of course, as sad as it was, Tim got it. He didn't want his clients to suffer. He didn't want the projects to be delayed because my schedule didn't allow for certain, you know, checkpoints to happen anymore. Yeah. So.
And that makes sense, right? Because he's very respectful of his clients, and
they're everything to him.
He's so professional, and
exactly.
That was wonderful that you came up with that conclusion that, hey, I can't serve the clients to your expectations, Tim.
Exactly.
Best that I branch off, and you were given such a wonderful opportunity as you know, having a TV show. Like we can.
I know. So it was. Yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was something that I just couldn't, you know, I had done the job for 10 years. I started at 22 and, you know, going to 32. And I was like, wow, if I do interior design, like for what, until I'm 50, 60, like it's going to be a long time in the same role. Like, so I started looking at other opportunities. Like, do I go back to school, become an architect? Do I go back to school and get my BCIN? Like all of these different things I started playing with. Because I was like, okay, 10 years is a long time. And then this opportunity came out of nowhere to be on a television show. And I was like, wow, this is kind of the same, but different, right? I'm still an interior designer, but I'm doing it in a completely different facet. You know, now I'm on television and I'm working with Scott, and now I get to see how this all unravels and works. And now we're shooting season 6.
That's incredible. Okay, so before we go on to the TV show, I just want to let the audience go into the transition where, okay, you left TJ Design, you started your DLD. So as owner and principal of your own company, so can you explain to the listeners exactly what your job entails on a day-to-day basis? What do you do? Like today is the start of the week.
Yeah.
Scheduled.
Oh gosh, Mondays. I actually love Mondays. Mondays are great. I do start, my poor employees start getting emails from me on Sundays, that's for sure. But
that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah, I know. So Mondays, I make sure that I check in on every job. You know, whether it be with the lead designer on that project. So I have a senior designer, I have a couple intermediate designers. Well, now I have 3 intermediate designers. I have 1 senior designer. I have a project manager. I have a business administrator. I have associate designers. So in total, there's 8 of us, I think. And yeah, but it wasn't always like that. It was just me running Debra Lillian Design. I had a couple clients. And so I kind of took those and I started the TV show. And that's kind of what I was doing when I left Tim. So I had like 2 clients and I had, sorry, I'm doing a renovation in my basement right now, which is why they're doing all of this loud noise. So I apologize for the banging. And so
Thanks for telling us that.
I apologize. I'm just,
That's okay. This is a real show, right? The day-to-day
real
life of Debra here.
and so it was my two clients, and I started shooting the show. I had no idea what to expect from the show, but I was doing a new build project and I was doing a renovation. And then slowly through referrals, two clients became three clients, and just a very slow grow, but still doing the same thing, interior design.
Right.
And then the show aired, and I had no idea what to expect. Like I didn't know.
Of course.
And I started getting inquiries, business inquiries.
Yes.
I watched you on the show. You're awesome. Can you help me with my cottage reno? I watched you on the show. Can you help me with my condo? And I was
fantastic.
like, oh, I had no idea that I was going to have this amount of reach. And now we have, and I would say 80% of my clients are the ones that see me from the show.
Yes.
We have 40 jobs and I have 8 employees. We have clients in the US and in Canada. And it's completely changed my business completely. And I figured,
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And I figured just ride the wave, right? Because
absolutely.
Scott and I've had this conversation before where he's like, hey, you're going to get busy with TV. And then sometimes there's sponsorships and promotions that come with being on TV. So you're going to have to make a decision at some point. Do you keep the business or do you not do the business? Because you're going to get busy. Exactly. And I'm like, hey, Scott, who has multiple businesses,
sure
how
does.
come you can do it all and I can't, right? Why am I going to have to make this decision? And so I said, I'm not making this decision. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to run the business, the interior design business, and shoot the TV show and do the sponsorships and promotions. And I have 2 children that I want to be there for.
Of course.
And my poor husband. Sometimes we just high five walking in and out.
I know, but you'll survive though. You got to be happy what you're doing. And the thing is, you are your programmer. You decide how much you want to do. If it's getting too hectic, you can dial it back, which is an incredible opportunity, right?
And I say that all the time. Hey, I'm busy, but it's a choice I'm making. I'm choosing to make this busy. I'm also choosing, in my opinion, to not be greedy. I've hired 7 people to help me run the business.
That's great.
And I'm giving all of them as much money as I possibly can to help me run this business because I don't need to take it all for myself, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And so, I'm trying to keep them busy, give them opportunities, give them projects. When you're a designer, all you want to do is design spaces. That's all you want to do. And I'm the type of person, I'm like, I'll take on a bathroom. I'll take on one living room. I'll do a new build project. We could work on a commercial, lobby. There's so much flexibility with the types of work I can do because I have all my employees, right? And so all different sizes, all different scales, all different budgets that we work with to try and, we just want to design spaces.
Yeah. But see, you hit one key aspect of a successful entrepreneur. You're the visionary. You got to get those ideas and transfer them into paper. Then you have a team of people that bring it to life.
Yeah.
Because that's not your job. That's not where you shine. So you need to.
We know that.
You need to focus. Well, I never saw you swing a hammer, so I don't know if you can.
Horrible. I'm horrible at all of that.
So then you hire someone to do that, right?
You got it.
To install floors, to do the painting, and all that stuff.
Letting go of that control.
You can't micromanage.
Game changer, but very difficult. Yeah. Very, very difficult for an entrepreneur, somebody who takes pride of ownership, knowing that it's your name on the line. That you're like, okay, I'm trusting in you guys, that you guys are going to execute this as passionately and professionally as I would. And that takes a lot to let go, but you just have to. And all the podcasts I listen to about running your own business and blah, blah, it's all about delegation, trust in your team.
That's right. Well, you know what? There's 2 types of people that are entrepreneurs. You're either an owner operator, where, like you said, you're micromanaging every aspect, but then you're going to run out of gas, right? And you're going to burn out way too soon. But if you are a real business owner, it's like you said, delegate. What am I good at? And then that leaves time for your kids, your husband, your family.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, in my aspect, the longevity, like our business is 48 years old. And the reason why it's still around is that delegation, taking care of yourself mentally and also physically, right? Those are so important, because if you're not here and you're not feeling well physically, you're not able to perform at an optimum level. Those are so.
Oh yeah, that was me last year. Last year, my dad passed. And I feel like I was, it's awful, as you know.
Yeah.
It's a terrible club you don't want to be a part of. And, but I felt last year I was just treading water. Even watching myself on television, I'm like, oh, I remember that day. I was so depressed. I didn't want to go to work. Didn't want to show up on set. I did. And thankfully I did, because you realize it's very easy to spiral and feel sorry for yourself and stay in bed. And rightfully so. You have every right to do that. Horrible tragedy that you've experienced. But I was definitely of the mindset of, okay, take a week to feel bad for yourself and slowly get back and doing things, because otherwise that becomes the norm. And I didn't want that to become the norm. I knew that I wanted to keep going. My dad didn't want me to feel bad for myself for years and years and years. He wanted me to keep going. And so I did. But last year I felt like it was just treading water, and I just couldn't get a grasp of it. You know, there was so much happening at once. And this year has been a complete game changer, like just a whole mental shift. I am prioritizing working out. I'm prioritizing being there for my kids.
Yes.
We're designing houses. I'm not saving lives. You know, things, if they're urgent, we will deal with them. But, you know, it's also the type of clients that you attract, right? They have to understand that too. Like, and it's about the energy that you, I feel like when you're first starting out, you kind of take on whatever projects you can get your hands on, because you're trying to build your portfolio, you're trying to build your business, and you just do it. And then once you've hit this next level and you're just like, I am picking my clients as well. I'm interviewing you guys as well. I'm not just taking on every project, because I want to surround myself with collaborative, open-minded, respectful individuals who get it. We're a team. We're dealing with so much money when we're renovating your most prized possession, with is your home, right? And that's even with the show. You know, we sit down, we do an interview process with the show too, and you kind of make sure that they get it. You have to get it. You know, we're a team here. This is exciting. This is a positive experience. And
Great points. Now, I want to go back to earlier on in the interview when you first started out. And one of the big things that you prohibit women from going into, say, construction or manufacturing is stereotypes. You mentioned that you've experienced it. So when you stepped on a site and all of a sudden, you know, the skilled trades look right through you and they're like, okay, where's the man in charge? Like, how did you handle that? Like, what advice would you give to young women?
I have very tough skin. So I am an emotionally driven person. So let's just start off with that. I'm an emotionally driven person. My emotions drive everything that I do in my life. If I'm upset, you'll know immediately. But I don't get fazed by powerful men, let's just say, right? Like, I've had to sit down with a lot of very wealthy, you know, men before, and sit down and go through their budgets for their renovation. And they try to, you know, intimidate you a little bit. And they try to do this. I'm like, listen, this is what it is. You don't want to pay it, cut it out of your budget, right? Like, you don't need it. I'm not marking stuff up. This is, you know, let's have a real conversation here. If you don't want to fork over the cash, then we're going to cut it out of your project. And so that's the same with a contractor. There's been many times where I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm here. If I'm going to try and get you as many answers as possible, if I can't, I will figure it out. But this is, you know, I'm Debra, handshake, look in the eye, right off the get-go. And just believe in yourself. I find like confident. You know, I think that's a big thing. When you know, this is where I belong, this is what I'm doing, no one's going to faze me. You can't, it doesn't matter what you say. I also don't really care what people say about me.
Your confidence shows through, right?
But I've always had
you're
that.
Good.
But I've always had that. I really haven't. I have two of my best friends are overthinkers. they like go on and on and on and da, 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 da. And I'm
We all
not
have friends like that.
yeah, and I'm not like that. So I just do.
Yeah.
Scott often says he's like you're ready, fire, aim. And that's just me. Let's do it.
Like
Let's
me.
go. Didn't even think about it. Just went for
Okay.
it. It's the repercussions. I don't know. And then I go home and unless it's a project and I'm thinking about the details and my client, I'm not thinking about how I was perceived on that job site earlier.
Okay.
I'm not thinking about how these contractors are going to be handled tomorrow. Not at all.
Okay. See,
Get out of your head.
but see, you and I have that confidence. And what drives the confidence is we're sure of ourselves and our experience goes through, right? But how about someone that's like 17, 18 years old and they basically can't even look you in the eye and have a conversation, let alone a firm handshake?
But that starts.
What advice do you give them?
Yeah, when I started with Tim, I realized that this job was like believing in your decision, right? And I didn't have that until experience. So if you're 17 and 18, start from the bottom, start from the bottom and work your way up. These people who think they could just go right into a high level position is mind boggling. Starting at the bottom and watching how people interact, watching how Tim was interacting with the trades, how the trades interacted with him, watching his communication with the clients, the sales reps, all of those things. He was very respectful and therefore respect was reciprocated, which is super important, right? He didn't just come in with this ego being like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Nobody wants to deal with that sourpuss, right? Everyone wants to deal with the guy who is understanding and patient and gets it. And so I think watching Tim do that for 10 years build my confidence that, oh, I know. And so often clients are hiring you because they want you to have the final say. No, this is right. This is wrong. I wouldn't do this. This is how I would clean this up. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody to believe in you. So in an industry like interior design, experience is everything.
That's what one key. And I think young people, as you know, 14-year-olds, they stay at home and they're either on the computer or watching TV or they're on their phones. They're not getting that valuable experience. And I'm thinking maybe you were similar like I was. When I turned 14 and I got my social insurance number, the first job I got was at Canada's Wonderland when it first opened.
Amazing. That's a good job.
It was a great job. I was in charge of, it was in the Hanna-Barbera land where you had Pebbles hot dogs. It's not there anymore, but I had this whole little restaurant to run by myself. And you learned how to handle money because we didn't have credit. You had to figure out how to cook the food and not poison someone. And you had to figure out when the lineup started. So there was all management and money handling and dealing with people. And you get those skills, you don't forget about them. And that's what builds your confidence. Absolutely. Right?
Yeah. My first job was at Salvation Army. And then from there, I went to Bombay Company. And I've always worked, always. As young as 14, I've always had a job.
Yeah. And that's why our confidence shows through.
Yeah. We're definitely modeling, we're sheltering our young ones a little bit too much. My husband and I both agreed, Tom and Lizzie, they will be working 14, 15 years old. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care, but you will be working. Could be 5 hours a week. Could be 10 hours a week. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 shifts, whatever it is. It's super important to build those skills that you need to, in turn, like you said, build your confidence.
Oh, I know. And it was funny because our oldest one now, he's 30. He worked at Tim Hortons, and he would come home every night really angry. He goes, I just can't believe how people are so rude and inconsiderate, and you know, they make me do the worst jobs. I got to go clean the toilets, and then people get gum and they stick it under the tables, and I had to clean that. I had to clean windows. And then, you know, he just went on and on and on. And he goes, I don't understand this. And I go, well, that's why we're sending you. So you won't be that type of person. You are respectful. And they learn from those experiences. So if you're young, go out there, get some experience, and that, you know, your confidence will eventually shine through. So that's great advice. So hands down, you are an incredibly talented and successful interior designer. There's no doubt. But you are, as you mentioned, a TV celebrity that just came by opportunity, knocking on your door, and you grabbed it. So you are the co-host of HGTV's Scott's Vacation House Rules with Scott McGilvery. Can you provide some details on what the show is about and your role on it?
So Scott and I renovate cottages all over Ontario and help people get them to a level where they could rent them out for short-term rentals. And there's, you know, some rules that go along with it, Scott's Vacation House Rules. And my rule and what I play into is plan your design. So rule number one is do your research. So it's understanding where you're buying and what the market looks like, right? If you're looking into Muskoka, if you're looking at Niagara Falls, Prince Edward County, all of these things is like, do your research, understand what's on the market, what's being available. Number two is plan your design. You know, if you don't plan your design, you can come across some costly mistakes. Happens all the time. Take the time, take the money, plan the design, do it right. And then, of course, there's, what is it? Roll up your sleeves, be your guest. You know, there's a lot that goes into the show. And working alongside Scott has been a game changer for me, like just watching him, and he's very professional. So first and foremost, Scott is the most professional TV star, you know, I've ever come across. He goes, he gets the job done. He takes pride in his ownership. And so it was nice to go from one person like Tim, right into another person like Scott and say, wow, okay, these guys, the top of their game, right? Respectful and hardworking. So I was really lucked out in that sense. And Scott's incredibly talented, right? So he's done a lot. He did income property before, then moving to McGilvery. So he had a lot. And then plus he owns, I can't even tell you how many rental properties himself. So he wholeheartedly believes in, right? And in real estate, which is impressive. So I feel like everyone on the crew, since working with Scott, has bought a second property or a third property. Like
yeah,
you
know, it's great. Passive income, you know?
Exactly. He'll talk to you about it and give you advice and really direct you. And he's awesome. He's just a wonderful, dear friend of mine now, but also just an amazing person to work alongside. The show is fun. It's kitschy. You know, we're doing themed rental properties, which is wild. So, you know, when you see the property, you're like, okay, you know, we've had this family has lived in this area at this cottage for 100 years. So it's going to be the heritage hideaway, right? Or this homeowner really loves the French country side of things. So we're going to lean into a little bit more of a French provincial, you know, design decor, or rock and roll and retro. And so then you just get to do something different, right? My private clients, we're not doing this. You know, it's more so the vacation side of things where I get to do this and really just think outside the box, do some fun stuff. It's all about when you're on a vacation, it's all about having an experience, right? So you're going there for a week, you've rented this cottage with your friends and family. It's awesome to have this experience of this Zen, you know, yoga retreat cottage, you know, but you wouldn't typically do that for your primary residence. Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting to hear all these fantastic rentals and great ideas. And you don't have a dull moment, I bet.
No, not on the show. The show's fun. I mean, I think what I love about the show is that they've allowed Scott and I to just be ourselves. I mean, Scott is always going to be himself, but me being a newbie, I've never been on a TV show, show before. They have no idea. And I'm different, and they've allowed me to be different and be myself and let my personality shine through. I've never once had somebody say, okay, let's scale it back a little bit, Deb. Let's try it. Not one person in 6 years has ever told me to try to do it differently. So I love that they allow me to be me on the show.
Those are the best TV shows, the ones that are unscripted and they let you be yourself. And that's when your true talent shines through.
Yeah.
Right. When you're allowed to be yourself.
Yeah. And so we're just wrapping up season 5. We get going into season 6. And yeah, it's been a journey. It's been wild. I have no idea. Like often, mostly at the airport is where I get recognized. Like, oh, you're on that show. I'm like, what show are you talking about? And they're like looking at me. And, also it's on cable, right? And so there is a certain type of person that is paying for cable and it's not young. So my wheelhouse is 55 plus. They still watch cable. They love HGTV. And that's where I get recognized. So like my girlfriends would be like, Deb, we're trying to get into this hot restaurant. Do you think you can get us a reserve? I'm like, no. Like happy hour in Florida. I'm not getting into anything.
For now. Maybe when you get a little bit more recognized, like Taylor Swift, then you'll be able to just schmooze right to the front of the line.
My daughter just became a Swiftie this weekend. She thinks it's like this official club. We were at a friend's house. They're listening to Taylor Swift. They did a dance and they're like, are you a Swiftie? And she was like, yeah, why? And then now she's asking me about being a Swiftie. And I'm like, fine, we'll go to the concert.
Yeah. And you're lucky if you got tickets.
Well, I'll have to buy them like a fool.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to probably put a gold bar down as a deposit because they're hefty in price.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So how many episodes do you record per season?
So it varies. Season 4, we did 14 episodes, which was wild. It was really, really crazy. Season 5, we did 8 episodes. So lovely. Way more manageable. Awesome. Season 6, we're doing 8 episodes. So that's as far as I go at the moment. But yeah, I think even season 1, we did like 12 episodes. It was just a lot. Doing that is a lot. Especially because we're traveling we're traveling a lot.
Are you flying to these places or are you driving?
Driving.
Oh.
Yeah, I go and I'll drive to and from in the same day. So, I'll be in bed for 8 hours and then I'm driving sometimes 6, 7 hours. So they're easy 15, 16, 17 hour days.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't envy you on that.
No, it's exhausting. It's definitely exhausting. The first thing I do is I wash my face, take off my hair and makeup. I'm like, oh gosh, Yeah, it's a lot. But again, it's, seeing these projects come to life has been rewarding. Meeting the homeowners who are so lovely and appreciative. It's quite the experience to pass over a giant check, your keys, and walk away. You're not allowed to check in on it at all. And then coming and seeing the reveal. Like it's a very different experience than, of course, how I run my business. And it's wild. It's easy. If you're the type of person that wants to make 0 decisions, this is the way to go. Yeah, exactly. You're like, I just want to walk. I want to come back in 5 months and it's done.
Wow.
Great. We're your team.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had 2 very important mentors. You mentioned Tim and Scott.
Yeah.
Would you have become the person that you are today without their mentorship?
No, definitely not. No. And I could throw in one more who is my husband, 10 years older than me.
And how's he influenced you? Yeah.
He's helped me guide through everything, through my business with working with Tim, being like, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? So I definitely bouncing ideas off Dave, and Dave, who's 10 years older, had lots of experience, would tell me, I think this is appropriate, this. So giving me a lot of direction, especially how I was leaving Tim too. Dave helped me. And then my entire TV career, Dave has been my agent. And so he has negotiated deals for me. He has, guided me on what to do, how to do it at the very, very beginning, because this job, like I said, just, happened. It was my husband, who's been on television for 25 years. His makeup artist is who put my name forward to the casting director for Scott's show. So they were looking for an interior designer. I think they had interviewed 30 plus women to be an interior designer. And Scott is so, he has such a loud voice and an energy that a lot of the interior designers that were interviewed didn't match. Right. And so they were struggling trying to find somebody. And then Lucky, the makeup artist, was saying, hey, to the casting director, Melanie, said, hey, do you, have you checked Deb Salmoni? And she was like, no, I have no idea who you're talking to. Instagram, looked me up, messaged me. I thought it was like fraud. I'm like, oh, so I didn't even
too good to be true.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Casting for Scott McGillivray show. This is weird. Didn't reply, followed up a few times. Then finally her and I had a conversation. We chatted. Hey, can you meet Scott next week at a job site? We're going to film you guys and see how that works. I did it. 3 days later, we want you for the show. Then that's when my husband stepped in and they did negotiations with them.
That's
and
crazy.
And hey, you're going to be shooting in a week. And that was like in April. And I met Scott in March. So it was crazy. And then they were like, hey, watch a bunch of these videos of these HGTV stars and how they interact. And my husband was like, don't watch that. Don't watch it. You're going to get in your head. They hired you because they like you. So you'll learn your mannerisms. You'll learn how to open to camera. You'll learn how to do all of these things over time. He said, if Scott's good, he'll completely take you under his wing and direct you, which is exactly what Scott did. But my husband kind of played a huge role in that. And through the whole TV career, Dave's helped me through that. So
for our audience that doesn't know your husband and what he does, do you want to fill them in on exactly
so
how
Dave
he earns a living? Which is unique. I know, but I want you to share.
I know. Well, Dave, for the last 25 years, he's now retired, but for the last 25 years, Dave worked as a large predator expert on Discovery Channel and Animal Planet. I know. So he would live
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I'm thrilled he's retired.
Oh, I believe it.
I'll tell you the anxiety of him going and shooting a show. It was awful. But yeah, Dave, for the last 25 years, he's lived with lions, tigers, and bears and swam with sharks and participated in all those
unbelievable,
dangerous TV shows that we watch on Animal Planet. Yeah, he's an adventure guy, biologist, just awesome, wild man.
That's impressive. And I'm surprised that you actually accepted his proposal because, one thing that goes through a woman's mind is like, if your job's really dangerous, I don't want to be left as a widow with young children, right? I'm pretty sure that was pretty hairy for a period of time.
Of course. Yeah, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. And it's been wild because it was like I met Dave. I was the interior designer working from Toronto. And he was the guy on television who was traveling the world, right? So I understood my role was when we decided to have children, which was very quickly because we're 10 years gap. So I was 28, he was 38. We got married, had our first kid at 30 and 40. Right. I was stay-at-home mom, meaning I was going to be in Toronto, working from Toronto, and the one that was running the house, and he would have to go as work needed him. And then COVID and everything switched. 2019, well, it was 2019 hit and I started shooting a TV show. Yep. So until COVID, me shooting, him shooting, it was wild. We tried to make, we managed to make that work. But as COVID hit, Dave was grounded, like in terms of like he wasn't traveling. All of his jobs, all of his work was travel. And so he wasn't doing that at all. Right. And then it never picked up again.
Wow, that's so amazing and so interesting. Never a dull moment in your household, it seems like.
No, we I suppose we bring it. We
You,
like the chaos.
you want that, right? I know it's sometimes you don't want that quietness, but only when you're a little
Mhm.
tired from in between projects and stuff.
My mom always says, "Oh my gosh, slow down, Deborah, slow down, Deborah, slow down, Deborah." I'm like, no,
I'll slow down when I'm retired. That's what I'll
yeah,
say, right?
exactly.
Exactly. So, innovation, collective growth are some of O's values and are essential for women to achieve success. So, how do you stay ahead in your industry that is continually changing and evolving? Any advice on that?
Oh, social media has been amazing in terms of like being able to keep up with, new designs, innovative designs. That's been really, really great. Uh, and it's also like, something that's incredibly accessible, right? It's right
Mm-hmm.
there.
It's
You
right
log
there.
on and you see what's happening in our industry. Going to trade shows has been wonderful for the interior design aspect
Okay.
of it. Reading, of course, the magazines like House and Home and Style at Home. I always love seeing the featured designers. It's nice to support your community of designers. There's so many talented designers, in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive. For that part of it, I would just say, it's just engaging for it's just being engaged, being aware, listening to my employees, right? Because often they're coming to me with a lot of their designs too. And I'm like, wouldn't do it myself, but I love it. Like, I think you're very talented. And oh, I went and I saw this new presentation on this new type of countertop or this new fabric that's being released,
Mm-hmm.
and really just trusting in your sales reps
Yeah.
is important. So having them send all of their updated samples and their libraries and allowing them to come and do presentations has been awesome at our office and really, really fun. The industry is always changing. You don't really have a choice but to adapt.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
still don't understand how AI is gonna, work in all of this, but it'll be fun to
Nothing's
see.
impossible.
Yeah,
In
right.
certain aspects, right? I've spoken to other guests that are in construction and renovation. They said there's some places where AI could be used, but there
Mhm.
are some jobs, no, you need the human touch for sure,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
good. We have job security at least.
I think with trades for sure,
Yeah. Oh, hands
we
down.
can't get a robot to frame a house. I'll tell you that much. Maybe you can, but it's not.
Mm,
Sometimes you need to manipulate it.
that'd be scary though.
I know.
So at O, we emphasize the importance of women tapping into their potential and overcoming obstacles, especially in male-dominated industries. So, were there any significant hurdles you had to overcome in your personal journey to becoming an entrepreneur and also a TV personality?
Well, I mean, there's also balance. I find balance is always, it's been a struggle. Sometimes you feel like you have it, especially, wanting to have a family, wanting to have kids, wanting to be there for your kids. I want to be able to walk to the library with my daughter's class but also I want my clients to know that I'm still there, checking in on their jobs and managing their jobs. And I'm trying to support my employees. At the same time, I'm sourcing wardrobe for this one. Like it's always a balance. And for me, taking a step back, I always need to have a vacation planned. That's one of my biggest
That's
things.
important, right?
Being like, this is coming up, this is coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
really, I like to almost plan my trips in January for the whole year. It's important for me to have something that I work towards.
Yes.
Um, and a goal. Troubleshooting is part of my job. So
Okay.
going on site, sitting down with clients
Mm.
and troubleshooting is just part of my job. It's constant. There's always something that's going to be a surprise behind a wall, a product that's out of stock. Troubleshooting is very important. And so I find you just have to take a deep breath sometimes
Yeah.
and take a step back, reflect before replying, reflect before making a decision. Give yourself a little bit of breathing time and give yourself some grace, because with women, I find we're always immediately we're the home take, we take care of the home. That's just our natural role. So if you're trying to be a mom as well as running your own business and doing that, I would say delegating and hiring people has been a game changer for me, because I'm able to be
So
mom
important.
as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. And again, you're giving away a piece of the pie, but I think it's really, really important because at some point your babies aren't going to be babies any longer. And so you can be more involved into that part of the job. If you don't have the mom role that you're trying to do, I think you could be a little bit more invested in all parts of the business. You don't have to delegate as much because that kind of becomes your baby, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I, as you were saying that, I was reflecting on my time when I was a young mom with 4 kids, and I said I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to be able to put them on the bus in the morning and be home when they got off the bus, right? And the first thing we did was they'd eat something, we do their homework, and then we take them to their activities. And then there were some days that I would just block time off because I wanted to go on that school trip, or I wanted to partake in parent council or volunteer days. Because like you said, you only have that small window of opportunity, because as soon as they're independent, it's like, bye mom, I'm with my friends. I don't need to.
Exactly. And so I think realizing that you can't do it all, you're not expected to do it all. So just get that out of your head. I can't do it all. I don't want to do it all. I'm going to delegate. I'm going to hire people. And that's only a chapter and a phase in your life. And then you can go back to being the control freak that you want to be with your business, or you could just enjoy having that free time as well.
So can you share a memorable project where you overcame a significant design challenge, and what did you learn from that experience? Because does everything always go perfect in the world of Debra Salmoni?
Never.
Or do you have challenges? How did you approach one memorable one that you can maybe share with us?
I don't know if there's one memorable one. There's a lot that I've dealt with. I'm just trying to think. We're renovating a basement right now. Okay, so we're renovating a basement, and you don't realize some of the challenges you have until your framer's there. Yeah. And this basement has so many different elevations on the ceiling, right? You have a support beam going here, you have the HVAC running here, you have the plumbing running here, and they start to frame everything in, and you realize, oh my gosh, our ceiling elevations, you got 6.5 feet here, and then it jumps up to 8 feet, and then this is going, and it's going to look like so that was a huge concern for my clients who messaged me on a Friday night, hey, the framers started, this isn't what we were envisioning, what's happening here. Okay, over the weekend, trying to rally up the teams, get everything sorted. Monday morning, first thing, meeting on site, and just understand, listen, it's not perfect. It's not going to do anything. Everyone has a budget, understanding that the budget is going to dictate what is possible. But you stress all weekend about it. You're sick to your stomach, being like, how didn't I catch this? How didn't I realize we're going to have, 5 different heights in this one basement? But I rely on my teams. So meeting with the contractor, meeting with the HVAC guy, meeting with the plumber, meeting with saying what's possible in your world to try to get everything at a 7.5 foot, height instead. And so, and just trying to work as a team. Relying on your team, trusting in your team. And again, this comes back to having clients who are wonderful and understanding and who get it. It's a game changer for interior designers. I know at the beginning you're taking on anyone, who you can, because you're just trying to build a reputation. So often you have to compromise some self-respect with some of these clients, and you're just like, okay, fine, I'll eat the cost of that, or fine, I'll negotiate my invoice, or fine. But when you have wonderful clients who understand and they get it and they work with you, it's a game changer. There's always going to be problems with every renovation. Always. It's like, how do I overcome these problems? What are my options?
I haven't met anybody who is in construction or manufacturing that says they don't have problems. You just have to figure out a way to resolve them. And one good thing that you mentioned is entrepreneurship. Once you've established a reputation, you can basically select the people you want to do business with. And it's like you said, you've got the particular client in mind, and that I'm going to work with this person. They're understanding, they trust me and my skills, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. You can pick and choose who you want to do business with once you've got that reputation. And I love when you're at that ability and position. That's so powerful.
It doesn't come without compromise and
Absolutely.
sacrifice, right? Like to get where I am, I've worked 40, 50, 60, 70-hour weeks.
Yes.
It doesn't just fall into
It's
your
not
lap.
easy. No.
No, I've exhausted myself beyond.
bet.
I've, on those shoot weeks where I have 3 shoot days and I have 30 projects that I'm trying to oversee, I'm miserable because I'm spread way too thin. But I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel because I have a trip booked next week.
I know that's the highlight. I'm looking
I'll do
forward to
this.
the end of the year.
Yeah,
That's my favorite time when you take the family vacation, right? And
exactly.
with everybody, I know that's what I love. So many women struggle with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. How can they overcome these mental barriers and step confidently into their careers or entrepreneurial ventures?
I think, as we discussed, experience goes a really, really long way. So if you do have desires to get into a particular industry, start your own business, there's no harm in shadowing somebody who's already in that industry, and seeing how they do it, seeing how they are managing it all, understanding that, you're going to do things differently, because that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, is that you kind of take what everyone's been doing, which is running a business, and then making it your own and kind of customizing it to how you think things should be run, which is awesome. But really just getting that experience, understanding, asking those questions, sitting down. For me, one of the things that I hate the most about running a business is managing people. It is, I found as I started to grow my business, that's all I was doing. And I said that to my husband. I said, the only thing I'm doing lately is managing people, and I'm not designing. And I'm resenting myself for getting into this position where I'm an HR person. And all I want to do is design bathrooms and kitchens and go on the job site. I don't want to manage people. And I had to find that balance. I was very open with my team. I was like, guys, I don't want to manage people. I'm not a micromanager on your schedules.
Yes.
No, I don't want to do this. If you have issues, of course, come talk to me, but please just make sure your projects are being run, at a particular level, as Tim taught me, make sure your clients are always taken care of, and we can deal with that. There was a point in time, was last year, that all I was doing was managing people, and I despised it. I despised that I had grown to a point where I had 7 people to manage. Right.
You actually said it eloquently. You say manage. I call it babysitting. And it's like our company went from Royal Door to Royal Daycare.
Yeah.
Because we live in a multicultural country, right? You have people with different viewpoints, and it's like, I don't want to work with that person because you know what? Back in my country, it's a no. Well, no, you're in Canada. Everybody's welcome, and everybody has the right to contribute and to be here. So you had to recondition them into a mindset of teamwork and independence. That's one thing I hate. Yeah, I can.
That makes perfect sense. I get it. I appreciate that, and I get it entirely. And so that's kind of, that's what I was dealing with. Thankfully, I don't have to, you always have to, but because I don't have HR in my company. But that was a growing point where I definitely feel like I had imposter syndrome. I'm like, I am not an HR company. What am I doing? Why is this happening to me right now?
Well, if you keep it under 20 people, then you don't need HR, but over 20, you got to hire one full time.
I don't.
That gets to be fun, right?
And everyone's contract worker, which is good.
I know.
Right. But yeah.
Can you share any upcoming projects or goals that you're excited to share with everybody else?
Oh gosh, I have so many fabulous projects, like fabulous projects.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, we have a new build in Wasaga Beach. We have a new build in Muskoka. We have a boathouse design. I have this two awesome renovations that are happening in Toronto. One in Forest Hill, one in Rosedale. We have a beautiful condo. Like the list goes on. We have so many projects.
So where can we see these on the TV?
My Instagram.
Or
On
Instagram?
on my Instagram. The show I can't really talk about too much
Until it
in
releases,
terms of,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all on my Instagram at Debra_Salmoni and Debra Lillian Design. I try to get as many projects photographed as possible. So my portfolio is up to date on my website.
Okay.
And we always have some fabulous projects. Of course, there's my own renovation that's happening right now. So we're digging down the
How
basement.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm blowing out the back, adding a mud room. And then our 4th story will be our primary suite, which is something I'm just so excited for. And we're doing it in phases, so we don't necessarily have to move out for very long. Once we do the main floor, obviously we have to move out, but we're trying to do it in phases and live through it. And I have a whole new sympathy for my clients. I can't. This is like week 3 and I'm losing my mind.
Well, if you got to move out and you need a space, you be close to Scott. You can come with us because, like, I'm an empty nester. I got spare bedrooms, so
amazing.
That would be.
My mother may be jealous. Where are you going? Why aren't you coming living with me? But
oh, I can't wait till you unveil your renovation because that's all exciting. Because every time we move into a home, we kind of gut it and we do a total reno. We'll make your own, but like you're saying, we're planning for something in the future because kids move out and you need to have a space that's uniquely for you. And I like focusing on wellness. Like I'm looking at a hot yoga, a gym, a plunge tub, a resistance pool, infrared sauna. These are things that I have in my mind, and I want that because wellness, as you said, is so important for us to function properly because we've got so many responsibilities. We do, and it's really, really important. We're putting in a steam shower and all these things too to try to, a gym. So it's important. Absolutely. So one last thing, Debra, I just want you to reiterate where our audience can connect with you, follow you on you said Instagram, your TV show, or if they just want to hire you as an interior designer, where exactly can they find you? Yeah, so DebraLillianDesign.com is my website. Yep. So of course, our DebraLDesign.com is the website where you can follow all of my work, and you can email me there any of your inquiries. And then I would say Instagram is the most active for me. Okay. So Debra_Salmoni on Instagram. They're trying to get me into TikTok, so I'm working on that. We'll see how that goes. That'll be fun. Fantastic. So congratulations on all your accomplishments, and thanks again for joining our show. Only Women Entrepreneurs is dedicated to helping women grow and achieve new heights on their entrepreneurial and alternative career journeys. Explore all the free resources we have to offer at onlywomenentrepreneurs.com for content tailored specifically for women who want to take their lives to the next level. Here you can also find my personal development and business courses to help you on your journey. Whether you want to start a new business or you want to transform your personal life, O can help guide you every step of the way. And for employers looking to hire skilled women, contact me to discuss my consultation services on finding the right person for your employment opportunities. And once again, I have a free consultation for that as well. Check out our awesome short form content on TikTok. Just look up Only Entrepreneurs. If you want to be featured on the podcast or simply want to reach out to me, follow us on LinkedIn as well to join a community of aspiring women who are changing their lives for the better. Only Women Entrepreneurs is here to provide the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to take your dreams and make them reality. Thank you so much, everyone. And Debra, thank you and good luck with all your wonderful adventures. And hopefully we can connect again. Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Rosemary. I appreciate it.